Welcome to the Refs Need Love To podcast, a show that gives you a real, raw, and behind-the-scenes view of one of the hardest jobs on the pitch, the referee. I'm your host, David Gerson, a grassroots referee with 7 years of experience and over 1,000 matches under my belt. You can find me at refsneedlove2.com and email me at refsneedlove2@gmail.com. In today's episode, it is part 2, chatting with one of the most well-known American referees, Ted Unkel. He's been a professional for over 13 years. In part 2, we're going to talk about the age-old question of when is a foul, and how has technology and VAR changed the game we love. Here's part 2 of that conversation now. So one thing, I had a couple questions in particular, for the time that we have. Okay, this is one thing I know that all refs deal with all around the world, and I'm curious how you look at it. This is going to sound so elementary, but for you, and this is a high-level question, when is a foul a foul? We know that there's contact all the time at all levels of soccer, from U6 to professional. But when does something become a foul? Let's leave out, yellow card, red card offenses. But when does a foul become a foul for you?
Yeah, so the simple answer to that, and it's not a simple question, but the simple answer to that is our number one responsibility on the field is player safety.
Right.
So if anything impacts player safety,
yeah,
it most definitely is a foul. So let's put that out there first.
Very good.
Outside of that, I mean that I say that cheekily, but there are matches that we've all been in where players accept more.
Yeah.
Right. So it's the shoulder to shoulder charge that we know of that the players continue to go. It's the trifling, which we define. Right. It's the trifling trip or tug that the player continues to want to play through. Right. And we allow that because the players want to continue to play through. It's about match control. Right? We're there to make sure that ultimately there's player safety and we have match control. Yeah. So if the players allow that to happen, then we have a little bit more, right? We're rope to give, for lack of a better term. Yeah. There are games where players want nothing to do with playing. Maybe when it's 104 degrees out. So anything. Then we call it tighter. Okay. In the as the game goes on and emotions rise, we call it a little tighter. We try to pull it back. Right. It's always been a little trick of the trade that we've been taught to kind of harness it in. And when it's open, when the game's open, let it be open. But so that's very difficult. I'll go back to when I spoke about starting in the WPS. I remember them saying, back then that, hey, women's game is a bit different than the men's game. Upper body fouls have more impact than the men's game.
That's interesting.
It was an instructional point. Is that true? I think every game's different. Yeah. I look at lineups before games. Right. I don't look at them much more than that. The passing things are going to change. Right. Our level of foul is going to change. But I can't stress this enough. You have to find that line of what we're going to have a foul on the day, and you have to find it from the opening whistle. Because if the players are confused, then they get frustrated, the benches get frustrated, and then that gets out of hand really quick. Especially in the MLS, the accuracy needs to be so high. It needs to be so high. Yeah. Part of that is because of the camera. Right. Benches can now have iPads. Yeah. Austin the other night, they have an iPad on the bench. You can see a replay immediately.
Oh, wow.
Immediately. So their reaction is going to be to what probably did happen.
So I didn't know that. So I have seen benches have an iPad over there. I thought it was more they were looking at formations like at a very high view. I didn't know they were actually seeing. Are they looking at the broadcast and watching replays, or is someone from the booth sending them something?
No, so I don't know where the feed comes from. It may be the broadcast feed. And part of that is, right, it's did that injury, how did that happen? It's the management of the team, and they can't come and bring the iPad to you and say anything like that. But it's a useful tool. Technology is coming into the game, so can we use it in a useful manner? But point being, right, there's 8 to plus cameras on the field. The World Cup will have more than that, including slow motion, super slow motion, and so on. But our accuracy rate has to be high. The players, they're intelligent. They're very intelligent. They know when a throw-in is going in the wrong direction or that needs to be a foul. And when you let that go, classic example not too long ago where the official let something go that was a foul, said it wasn't a foul. Ball gets turned over, and all of a sudden there's that little foul, and the guy goes down on the team that just recovered it, and now you have to blow the whistle.
Right.
It's like the soccer gods coming, reminding you, hey, like, we can't do this, right? Because there's balance here.
So let's talk about that for a second, because I think one thing that has happened in this world with all the technology and with all the camera angles is, this extreme scrutiny. It does not matter who the referee is on the day. That's the other thing that I've noticed. Every year, whoever's in the middle, there is going to be all of this stuff said about them. If, there's, during the game, one call is made based on what the referee sees, but after the game, they find a camera angle that looks very damning, and even for you as the referee, I'm sure sometimes you must see something broadcast or wherever that shows you a different angle that you didn't see of the game, that maybe it was a foul. Maybe that should have been a yellow card or, gosh forbid, a red card. Hopefully you're in a red card scenario, VAR's giving you that advice, but should have been a foul. Maybe it would have changed the outcome of the game. How do you deal with that as a referee? You've seen something in the field, but then later on you see a camera angle. It's like, man, gosh, I wish I would have seen that.
Yeah, so VAR has come into the game because of its usefulness. Right? It's the clear and obvious error, or more aptly defined, the thing that we could not see. There's three people. Yeah. Fourth official, if we're lucky to have one. Right. We are. Yeah. But not at all levels. And then the game's moving at a fast speed, so you have that split second. Yeah. The angle that you're in to see what you see. VAR, one of the best pieces of advice to a VAR, if something happens around the penalty area, to look is the camera from behind the goal. Yeah. Never, ever, as an official, are we going to set up behind. That angle gives away a lot. The backside of a defender. I have one in Portland. Was it a week and a half ago? So, shot happens. Matt Hedges, who's 6+, turns his body. I've got player, turns his body. Clearly looks like from everybody's angle, it comes off his thigh or whatever. And sure enough, VAR catches it, and his arms extended away from his body. We have handling and penalty. Yeah. Live, you cannot see that. It's just not possible. So great technology. Yeah. Great use of another tool.
So that helped you out during the game.
It helps me out during the game. The stuff that happens that you find out afterwards. Oh, it's the most frustrating thing ever. Right. It's the most frustrating thing ever. Yeah. And, the little bit of this conversation and the other conversations that we've had, what goes into being a professional referee or how much education we have. We have camp next week. We'll be in attendance for. We have them over the course of the year. As soon as IFAB puts out the deliberate deflection clarification, we get that. So we're looking at video and all this stuff. Yes. All we want to do is get things right. That's the whole intention of all of it. And even those with the huge resumes. Big game this past weekend, as you know, right? In the Tottenham Chelsea game. Man, amazing referee. Taylor's an amazing referee. Amazing. Yeah, absolutely. And his resume can be argued anyway. Put it up against anybody's, right? He's going to Cup and so well earned. And yet, football is football. And things happen that get people riled up, or that maybe what we would call controversial. Right. We work in this book, which is The Laws of the Game. A book that, by the way, won't teach you how to referee.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Not even remotely.
We work within these laws of the game. Yeah. We are fall under the education of considerations. Yep. And then beyond that, there's other considerations that still may not be written down, but are what football expects. Beyond that, you have VAR protocol. Yeah. Okay. So can we review something we clearly see on a TV? Does that fit into protocol? And it's so easy to fall in these little boxes, or looking at a near post corner. Yeah. Okay. A near post corner when something happens away from it. Right. I don't see that. Why is my focus going to be there? You know totally. How many players I need to look at, and clearly the ball is what they should be looking. So it's completely understandable why, but the frustration is no less. Yeah. We want to get everything correct.
Yeah, it's so horrible. It's like I think there's an expectation that you want your referee to have control of the game, right? But then there's also this thing. It's like, oh well, they make it all about them, because they're trying to control the game. Like that feedback you hear. And then, again, I don't want to talk about the specifics of what happened this weekend, but I can't wait to go do a Google search on, what people were saying about Anthony Taylor last year as one of probably the greatest English referees, and, proud to see him going to the World Cup. And after one game, and again, some decisions that are being questioned, whatnot. Oh, he's the worst referee. He should never referee again. It's like, if they only knew.
But don't we live in that? Our reactions when we're driving in traffic, for example.
Right.
Like we go from 0 to 100, and unfortunately, the phones and the stuff that we have here are immediate. You can blast this off into the world. So stay off this.
I just stay off the phone.
Stay off
the social media.
Stay off the social media.
Well, I think that's one thing. I know this is not about me, but I had a call this weekend. Coach was arguing about it. I explained it, kept arguing about it. Eventually showed him a yellow card. Coach, it's done. It's over. Let's move on. It's like I've made the call. I'm not going to change. Let's go. Sure. That was crazy. The last thing I wanted to ask about, just in the time that we have, you briefly alluded to this whole idea of considerations. And I have to say for myself, so I've been 7 years in now, the first 4 or 5 years, I had never even heard the phrase considerations, and there are considerations for what is a yellow card offense, what's a caution, what is a sending off. But, when you're on the field, Ted, how do you go through those considerations? Is it just like innate, and give me an example. What would be a consideration? You've got a slide tackle that's come in, you've blown the whistle, and you have to make a determination. Is it a direct free kick? Is it a yellow card? Is it a sending off? What are the things that you're going through in your mind?
Yeah, so you're right. And it has to be not necessarily split second. You have time in there. Not necessarily time between no whistle and whistle. There's credibility in that. But, man, you have time when it gets to misconduct, right? People react. You have an injured player maybe. You have things coming around, or you could get a little bit of information and take that time. Use that time wisely, okay? And for the most part, our guts are right. Yeah. Our gut reaction to what things are right. But I'm checking boxes. What was the mode of contact? Did he get him with the studs that was inside of the boot? Did he get him low on the foot? Does he get him over the ankle? Yeah. Does all these little things? Is it a bent leg? Yeah. Is he trying to pull himself out of it, or is it disregard for the player coming in? Is there an opportunity to win the ball fairly, or is there clearly not? The tackles that come straight into a player, right? There is no way they can win a ball fairly. The bare minimum is a foul. And then we have to kind of decide from there. So you see so many things over the course of time. Experience, there's no replacement for experience in this game. None. So once again, advice there, do as many games as you possibly can. Because the more you see, the more you get comfortable. Yeah. You'll never see it all. Yeah. There'll always be something that will surprise you. Yes. Right? But the more you see, I think that's why we do so much video clip review. Right. Look at this, and it's very difficult there too, right? Because it's not apples to apples. Like when you see this tackle on the field, this is the answer, because you're never going to see that exact tackle again, probably, right? So he might be an inch to the left. It might glance off his shin guard instead of stick the shin guard. Things like this. So you have to take all that in and make the best decision possible. So I have a decision earlier this year. It's I have my gut. I blow the whistle. It's definitely a penalty. Yeah. I take all the clues around me. Who had gotten fouled. I know it's at least misconduct. Guy who had gotten fouled was up in 3 seconds, 4 seconds by the time I issued misconduct. Well, clearly, that wasn't enough for a red card or foul play. How could it be? He's bounced up, ready to take a pen, and you look back at the clip, and it should be red by checking the boxes that we normally do. Hey, where is the point of contact? What is the mode? All this stuff, right? But in the match, that's what it feels like. And I'm going to tell you, you need to rely on that, because in most of the games that we officiate, there are no cameras. There's no other angles. You have to take what's there. And ultimately, like we said before, it's player safety and match control. Yeah. So if you're in your local park on the weekends, listen, and the players accept what you're doing, like we talked about, foul, no foul.
Right.
The players are accept. That's really important because we want to walk out of there match control. Okay, so that's what I'd say about that.
It's wild. I just there's so much into it, and I know we can talk forever about it. But I know you've got to prep for a game today and evening. So I don't want to take any more time. But Ted, I would just say, thank you so much for doing what you do. And again, you make you, and when I say you, I'm talking about the collectively you and your fellow referees and all of the people who are behind the scenes, the VR, you make the game possible. Again, without a ref, there is no game. It is just a scrimmage or a melee, but that's part of professionalization is having refs like you who have been doing it for so long and, think about all of these things to give us, the beautiful game. So, oh my gosh, that is fascinating, man. Thank you so much.
No, pleasure. And same thing. I think the one thing I would end on is simply, listen, we as officials are as much a part of the game as anybody else that's there. So don't be they used to be like the best referee was the one you never saw.
Oh, please.
Be the one they do see. You have to be you'll have to be part of it and allow the game to be the beautiful game. And at the same time, keep it in control. And then we can, kind of wipe our hands and give each other a little pat on the back when it's done, when we do a good job. I think we get caught up in the stuff we may not have seen or the stuff that may not have gone right. I think we have to celebrate our wins as well.
That's fascinating. Man, thank you so much. Yeah. I hope you appreciated that conversation with Ted as much as I do. I have to tell you, I've met the man a few times now and got to see him work. He is what we would call a stand-up guy. My good friend Pete Savatelli in college would call him, he's good people. He's good people. I appreciate him and the people like him who do what he do, as we all should. Again, if you'd like to get in touch with me, reach out to me at refsneedlove2@gmail.com. Check out my blog and shoot me an email at refsneedlove2.com. And certainly check out the TikTok at refsneedlove2. I sincerely appreciate your time, and I wish you a red card-free game coming up.